you'll notice that some of the fortified cereals like Raisin Bran say it's healthy and it has all these vitamins in them. Well, gluten products or wheat actually itself doesn't have any vitamins in it. They inject synthetic vitamin D or vitamin A. And at the same time, gluten actually blocks your ability to absorb nutrients as well into your body. So not to scare anybody. It sounds obviously now that gluten is not the way to go. It is okay occasionally because you're not going to be able to say no to everything, or going out with friends or going on a date or bringing a Tupperware container to a family function, right? But if you can eliminate the grains inside of your household, a little bit, maybe take them down starting out, that's a great start. But say you're eating bread 3 times a day, maybe 2 slices of toast in the morning, a sandwich, and then something else at night or snacking later, it will block the ability to lose fat. And it's something that definitely should be taken down a notch in a lot of people.
And here we go. You're listening to the Kings Can Move On podcast with your hosts, Jason Stewart and Frank Raymond.
Welcome, everybody, to the Kings Can Move On podcast. You have your co-host here, Frank the Tank Rainey, a.k.a. Big Reno, a.k.a. the past birthday boy. Birthday boy just was in the house. Hey, what's happening?
We're going to get to that in a minute. But let me say, it's your little J, a.k.a. Wood, also known as KC the H-Town on Instagram. Please follow. And also follow, subscribe to this podcast if you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, Apple, do all that stuff. We need all the support we can get. And one little note, we had mentioned this before, but this is our last episode for the season. We'll be going on a little hiatus until...
Much needed.
Getting
ready for the holidays.
Yeah, a little holiday break. So we'll be back soon. So stay tuned. But with that said, so yes, my man Frank the Tank just had a birthday. Just turned the big 6-0. Man, congratulations, my brother.
You a motherfucking lie. You a motherfucking lie.
Welcome to the 60 Club.
Hey, boy, sometimes, man, I tell you, it feels like it as much running around I do, and then I'm tired as hell. Coming through the day, I'm like, damn.
Well, you know what? That's a good segue to our guest. We're going to talk about your aging, you're tired, and all the things we may be able to do to improve that. So our guest, Nick, give me your last name again. I'm sorry, I didn't get your pronunciation of your last name.
Soulias.
Nick Soulias. Join us all the way from Thunder Bay, Ontario.
That's correct.
And north of the border, baby.
Up north, guys, we got a Hooser on the line.
Yeah, I live in a teepee or an igloo, is what people might think up in America.
Spearing fish and hunting moose.
Right.
That's it. That's all I do. Yeah, that's all I do.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Nick. We're glad to have you on. Thank you for joining us tonight, sir.
Right, man. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
And I'll tell you this, man. We are actually, it's so cool because we are global. We're global now. We just had a cat on from Japan. Was he in Japan or Korea? He was in South Korea.
Yeah, he was in South Korea.
Had you on, and then we have our American constituents.
Yeah.
Man, we fucking global. Go ahead, Kings, move on. We moving on across the world, baby. Let's go.
Oh, and one more little note, kingsmoveon.com. So it's almost the time of year for your Christmas shopping. In case you want to get somebody special, a nice little hoodie or a t-shirt with a Kings Move On logo on it, go to the website, kingsmoveon.com, kingsmoveon.com. Check us out. But anyway, Nick, again, welcome to the show. Tell us, first of all, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I am a online men's fitness and health consultant, obviously from Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada. I've been working with men um, predominantly over the age of 30 to um, lose fat, build muscle, and optimize their natural male hormones as they age. So just as you said, they can wake up, have more energy, lose more fat, build more muscle, and overall lead a healthier and better life. So I've been doing it for about 4 years now, all online, and it's been fun and exciting.
How'd
And you
you
know
get
what?
started in that field there, Nick?
So it's interesting. So I got started in this field. I went to school for actually math and economics at yeah. So it's a total change at my university here in Thunder Bay. Uh, but during the time just before that, in high school, I might as well go all the way there. I was a pretty skinny, very shy type of kid. Um, I was one of those kids. There used to be those games at lunchtime where it was called Fly on the Wall, where you can actually like duct tape somebody to the wall, and the team, the team whose guy stayed on the wall the longest won. It was just like a fun thing. But I was that guy that would be chosen as the fly on the wall. Right. So I was super skinny, but I really enjoyed playing basketball. It was actually one of the things that I did a little bit in university. But in order to get there, I had a lot of work to do with my own fitness and health. So I spent so much time in the gym during those years from, I'd say, being 16 years old and on, right? Now I'm 26 now. Uh, but during that time, it was a lot of hard work. I was surrounded by guys who were bigger than me and stronger than me. But I knew in order to play at the next level that I had to do it. And it became sort of a lifestyle for me. After a while, it became a habit. I worked with so many different trainers, worked through so many different nutrition programs to get to where I am today. And after university, after playing a year of basketball, I left. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had this degree, right? But at the same time, I was really knowledgeable in fitness, in my own transformation. So I decided to take it to the next level. I had another trainer along the way, uh, and he helped me really build muscle, put on size even more, while minimizing the fat and working through different goals. And that's when I basically took it upon myself to do the same thing for others. Uh, and that's what got me into training virtually and putting back what I know about building muscle, especially as you age and losing fat. There's so many different things out there, um, but I put together basically all my knowledge to start training online.
So, one more quick question, Frank. You got one. So why the focus on men over 30? What led you to that? Especially.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. So my dad actually has what's called rheumatoid arthritis. You
Okay.
guys obviously know what that is.
Yeah, my dad.
Um, yeah. One day he was reading this book, and it's called Wheat Belly, and he gave me the book,
You said
and
weed belly? Like I'm smoking wheat or wheat?
no, that's actually good for arthritis. I'm pretty sure that's good for arthritis. But yeah, yeah, it was called Wheat Belly, and it was all about modulating like inflammation because arthritis is inflammation. And he's like, you gotta try this. Like try cutting back on wheat, specifically in refined grains like cereals, breads,
Huh.
pastas, stuff like that.
Okay.
So I did it, and as I did it, I actually figured out how to eliminate grains. Well, not entirely. Obviously, I do enjoy, going out with friends and having a meal or stuff like that. But I tweaked my nutrition so that I can modulate my own inflammation, but also I learned how to build muscle while minimizing fat because I realized that carbohydrates, refined grains, and stuff like that if not ingested properly, can lead to massive weight gain, but fat gain. It could hurt your mental focus, and so when I eliminated those from my diet, I became more clear. I started to build muscle. Even things like, I had bad acne before too. When I stopped doing this, I had no more acne. So all these great things were happening. Then I figured out how to implement that into my own training. But this all comes together in what I do now in helping men optimize their testosterone, because we'll get into this a little bit in the podcast, but refined grains and sugars are one of the things that are blocking men's testosterone as they age. So I decided to help men over 30 who are struggling with low testosterone, which is astronomical now more than ever, to help them increase their natural testosterone through their nutrition, as well as exercise, as well as sleep and managing stress. And it's something that I practice every day, and I teach the people over 30 this as well.
So when someone over 30, and I know this is helpful for Jason because he's very much unhealthy and overweight. So when teaching somebody these tactics, what are some things that they have to stop doing? What are some of the basics that someone over 30, over 40 would have to stop doing in order to start seeing some results? Because we know that we live in this microwave society, and if people don't see the results within a week or two, they're like, what, forget this.
What people need to do now more than ever is to change the frequency and the quality of what they're eating. Because it just so happens that if we don't do this, then we're not optimizing our natural testosterone. If we're, say, nibbling and snacking day in and day out, maybe every 2 or 3 hours, we are spiking what's called insulin in your body. And insulin is this hormone that gets produced by the pancreas to grab the carbohydrates and the sugars that are floating around the bloodstream from the food that you eat, say it's like a piece, say it's bread or crackers or something like that, and shuttle them into the muscle or the cells of your body in general. What's happening is, when people keep eating refined grains or snacking throughout the day, it's constantly pushing out this insulin, and over time, your body becomes what's called insulin resistant. So you have this insulin being pushed out by the pancreas to shuttle the nutrients into the cell, but it's actually not working properly. It's almost like you're yelling at somebody at a loud concert. You can see their mouth moving, but you can't hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
So now you have all of these sugars, these carbohydrates floating around in the bloodstream, and the only way that they can be stored and deposited is as fat. So you'll notice, as you get older, some men find, it's so much harder to lose weight, right, than when they were 20, because it's the years of constant eating. Maybe the quality of what they're eating isn't right. Maybe they're snacking too much. So there is no, I can't say that there is this magic diet that will stop this. We simply just have to change the frequency and quality of what we're eating. We don't need to track our calories and points. We don't need to jump on the next, say Weight Watchers or Noom or something like that. What men have to do is put the foods that don't produce or don't require insulin to be pumped out so much by the pancreas, that help make testosterone naturally in your body. And when men start to do this, they'll notice that the weight's going to start coming off within weeks.
Even at an older age, there's still, because I noticed that, like, when I was in my 20s and even in my 30s, at a certain point in my 30s, I could drop it just like that. And now it's just, that's not the case anymore. And it's frustrating as hell.
Yeah. Even no matter how old you are, because the only way that this can get way out of hand is insulin resistance shows up in pre-diabetics and diabetics. And you'll notice that this happens as you age. But when you're accumulating fat or you are a little bit overweight, you can always draw it back to how insulin resistant you are. So by looking at a person, you can tell if they're insulin resistant. There's a problem there, but it can be corrected as long as you don't lose function like in your kidneys, where you have a severe kidney problem. So this can be corrected at any point in your life. The earlier that you catch it, the earlier that you recognize it and understand, this process of what's blocking men from losing fat, then they can start seeing progress. No matter if you're 50, 60, 70.
So this is good stuff. Because like Frank said, I'm older and clearly I'm out of weight. I'm out of shape. I'm just
Yeah, man.
a fat bastard over here. But
Yeah.
but no, I think I'm not doing everything wrong because I snack a lot, and I always thought I need to just have a bunch of little snacks throughout the day, get me through. Another thing, I've been eating wheat bread since I was like in high school because my dad ate wheat bread, and that's what I've been eating. And you always hear wheat's better
Yeah.
than white. So you go to the store, go Subway, what you want, wheat or white? Wheat. But now listening to you talk about the wheats and the grains, maybe it's all reversed. Am I doing it wrong?
It's yeah, you're not wrong in saying this, because yeah, this might uh this might not be anything like you've heard before. Obviously, like you see it all the time. Eat your healthy whole grains. Kellogg's has this new cereal, 12 grain, double flax, whatever it is. I was eating that too, all the time.
Yeah.
But what's happening here is too, when you're eating wheat products, first of all, they actually spike your blood sugar just like sugar does, because there's the gluten inside of bread is the protein gluten, right? This produces what's called amylopectin A into the bloodstream, and this amylopectin A, when it gets into the bloodstream, it spikes your blood sugar super high. Refined grains spike insulin because they are carbohydrates, but they also have this gluten in them. And you see a lot of the times people are gluten intolerant, or they get sensitive when they eat bread and they blow up. Gluten is modern wheat is more dangerous than it was years and years ago. And this is also due to the way that it's grown. Like wheat products now are also sprayed and grown super fast and cut super short, whereas way back in the day, ancient grain, it was able to grow without pesticides, and they didn't have all these other factors in them as well, like pesticides. One of them is called glyphosate. But gluten is not healthy. In fact, it does block the ability to lose fat. So
Gluten does.
eliminating gluten, yes.
Okay.
Gluten, yes.
You hear a lot of stuff. A lot of people. I have a friend of mine who's gluten. She cannot eat anything it has to be gluten free, or she'll actually get sick from it if it's not. So
hmm Yeah,
severe.
there's a lot of people who are sensitive to gluten now more than ever, or have some type of irritable bowel, and this all has to do with that protein inside of the wheat itself, which is gluten. People are sensitive to that. And at the same time, that gluten protein spikes your blood sugar super high, just like eating sugar does. And on top of that, gluten is highly processed, it's refined, it has a lot of chemicals. Um, so modern wheat, even though they push it so much, eat your healthy whole grains because they have all these nutrients and vitamins in them. Another thing on this topic is you'll notice that some of the fortified cereals like Raisin Bran say it's healthy and it has all these vitamins in them. Well, gluten products or wheat actually itself doesn't have any vitamins in it. They inject synthetic vitamin D or vitamin A. And at the same time, gluten actually blocks your ability to absorb nutrients as well into your body. So not to scare anybody. It sounds obviously now that gluten is not the way to go. It is okay occasionally because you're not going to be able to say no to everything, or going out with friends or going on a date or bringing a Tupperware container to a family function, right? But if you can eliminate the grains inside of your household, a little bit, maybe take them down starting out, that's a great start. But say you're eating bread 3 times a day, maybe 2 slices of toast in the morning, a sandwich, and then something else at night or snacking later, it will block the ability to lose fat. And it's something that definitely should be taken down a notch in a lot of people.
And you mentioned just earlier, like we shouldn't try to scare people away. Shit, sometimes we need to. I mean, for real,
Scared
like
straight.
myself included.
But
Yep.
maybe I'm gluten. Maybe I have a gluten issue. I never understood the gluten deal, like gluten free. What is it? But I mean, I guess I eat wheat breads, eat grains, and all this kind of stuff daily. And I'm a thin guy, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bulge in the midsection that I can't that I can't shake for some reason. And I notice when I eat like almost anything, I feel this like bloat, like overly full sensation a lot. And I'm trying to figure out what it is, do I need to go on cleanses and all that kind of stuff, and that really hasn't worked. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe I need to look at eliminating some bread and grains from my
Yes.
diet.
I
Nick,
I would
Nick, hold
100%
on,
advise that.
just 1 second, dog. I'm gonna tell you, Nick. It's one thing that the millennials do, and Gen
Yeah.
X or Gen Zers they
Now I'm a
call cap.
millennial.
What is it called? Cap. They call cap on shit. I'm calling cap on what Jason just said. Jason's always been skinny our whole lives. I was skinny. And then when I started having kids, that's when the weight, look at that. And I'm not even gonna stand up and show you all my foolishness, all this love I got
Okay.
in my midsection. So
Yeah.
Jason, I'm calling cap on what Jason just said. He's just trying to say that shit for
Nick,
viewers. I don't know.
Eh.
we get this all the time. Us skinny guys, I'll be telling them how I got a little this, and everybody like, what are you talking about? I know my body. I, I'm not like I was when I was younger, and
It's
I can't get my
yeah,
six pack back.
yes. It's funny because it shows up differently in different people.
Okay.
Um, some people are really skinny, but then they get something like arthritis. Example of my dad. Some
Hmm.
people are skinny, they have really bad rashes or acne, stuff like that. Or some people just get big. And they say, well, only if you're gluten sensitive, then you shouldn't eat gluten. But it does show up in many other ways because it's highly inflammatory as well. Anytime uh, you get a pimple, for example, there's inflammation there. It could be due to the diet. These are all signals that we need to stop eating the refined grains, the refined sugars. Um, so, I mean, for myself, before I started really taking them out of my diet about 3 years ago, and um, when I was eating carbohydrates, because I thought, oh, I got to eat carbohydrates to get bigger and
Right.
stronger. Sure, I was gaining a lot of fat along with the muscle, but my mindset, even mentally, I felt groggy every single morning. I had more depressing thoughts. I had this rash on my face that it was like uh, it was like redness, red marks on my cheeks, um, different things like that. And when I eliminated the grains, everything went away. I also had seasonal allergies,
Mm.
really bad, really, really bad. I'd go on car rides to the States to play basketball in Duluth or Minneapolis. And I'd be sneezing, coughing the whole ride. Now I actually don't have any allergies to the seasons. So when you change this first of all, when you eliminate the grains, a lot of good things are going to happen mentally, physically. Um, but it's not only the grains. We do need to bring in the foods as well, because obviously the foods that don't have that effect on insulin, like I talked about. Um, if you have like starchy potatoes, like a lot of potatoes and stuff like that, like they don't have grains in them, but they have a lot of carbohydrates in them. When you bake a potato, um, the starch molecules blow up. The glycemic index on something like that is super, super high. You just have to understand when to eat them. Say like you worked out, like after you work out, you're what's called insulin sensitive. Your body's kind of wants something, right? It's ready to take in the nutrients. That'd be a great time to have something like that.
Like around what
But
time would you say?
I'd say like anytime post workout,
Post workout.
within 30 minutes or an hour, it's a great time to have like a starchy carbohydrate, like a sweet potato or a rice cake or fruit or something like that. Um, Something that I do with my clients, I call it the targeted carbohydrate approach, because say you have a breakfast, which is like bacon and eggs. Bacon and eggs are fats and protein. Fats and protein don't create a spike in insulin. They actually have like eggs have zero effect on your insulin. Your body can ingest the fats and protein with its counterpart glucagon. So there's insulin and there's glucagon. When you're eating fats and protein, your pancreas produces glucagon, but it's a very natural process, and it shuttles the fats and proteins into the cells of your body without the requirement of insulin. And so say you have a breakfast that's more fats and protein, you hit a workout, you're insulin sensitive. After your workout, it'd be a great time to have those
See, and
carbohydrates with a protein.
that's kind of weird because I'm thinking that like if I'm going walking around my neighborhood trying to get my little steps in, get my 3 to 5 miles in per day, and when I get done with that, I'm thinking that I should not do anything that has sugar, even a natural sugar. I shouldn't do like a fruit or anything like that because of the sugar and because of the carbs. Like I just burnt carbs. I don't want to put the carbs back on. I feel like that's a moot point. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Hey, just a quick reminder that if you're liking this podcast, please hit the subscribe and like buttons, and also rate and follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. Thank you.
It's a very good point. Because if you're somebody that wants to lose a significant amount of weight, say you want to lose 50 pounds,
Mhm.
first of all, you don't actually need carbohydrates in your diet to function and actually live. If you're somebody that is completely keto, they call it, right? You'll be totally fine. So actually, if you're somebody that wants to lose, say, 50 pounds, by putting back carbohydrates into your system, like you said, sugars, it could actually block the ability to lose fat. So you need to first get yourself more insulin sensitive, which is lowering the amount of insulin that's floating around in the blood. You need to correct that first. And that happens by eliminating or at least taking down the carbohydrates out of your diet. So, for example, I had a client who flew for Delta Airlines, and this guy couldn't, work out all the time, right? He was super busy. He's in Europe, coming back, staying here, staying there. So to be honest with you, he wasn't following every single workout every single time that I gave him, because it just wasn't happening. But he did what's called intermittent fasting, and I would
Mhm.
have him do it while he was flying, just sitting down on his plane. Obviously, we built up to this. I would never just say, hey, okay, start not eating, right? There's certain things that you can have throughout your fast that keep you mentally focused and sharp. Don't have your mind on food all the time. But he was able to lose a significant amount of weight as he was flying and not even working out. And this is where, optimizing your training program to what you can actually do is one thing, but your diet, nutrition is about 80% of fat loss. So if you can get this right, if you're bigger, and you need to lose, like I said, over 50 pounds, whatever it is. Getting your nutrition right first can have you losing fat real fast
So
without
would you
excess
suggest
exercise.
not doing the carbs or anything, or I know it's hard to eliminate them completely for someone like myself. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm overweight, and it's hard for me to eliminate things like alcohol. That's hard, and I know it has a lot of carbs in it, especially if I'm mixing it with some cranberry juice. Or my daughter's here, and she's like, "Daddy, I cooked you some Rice Krispie treats." I'm like, "Well, shit, put them on my plate." you know, that those things are hard to do. But how often should I mean how often should I treat myself, quote unquote, treat myself to those things if I am still trying to lose a significant amount of weight?
I would say it depends on the volume, how much you're going to have.
Hmm.
I would say if you had one, one or one and a half Rice Krispie squares, uh, maybe like 2 or 3 times a week, it's not really going to affect any of your progress,
Okay.
because you need to get what I call fat adapted first. So obviously at the start, you don't want to be eating these foods. You want to get your body fat adapted. So you want to be eating foods like eggs or bacon or good vegetables, good quality meats and stuff like that. Once you have your body primed to losing fat, then when you have a little bit of carbohydrates, it's not going to have a massive impact on your uh, on blocking the ability to lose fat. So it's not that big of a deal once you start to get yourself on the right track of switching over from your body wanting and craving carbohydrates for energy to, okay, he's not really bringing in that many carbohydrates, but I know there's fats and protein on hand. We can use this um, to burn energy or give him energy. That's why even if you did something like an intermittent fast, maybe it was to start like 14 or 16 hours, 2 or 3 times a week. This is a great thing to do for your body to actually start using its own fat for fuel. And then if you have some treats, if you have a couple of alcoholic beverages, like I do myself, on a Friday or a Saturday night with friends, or if I'm going on a date or something like that, I'm not going to say no to it. But what you do the next day, the days leading up to it, is super important. So, do you have to say no every time? No. If you're somebody that's serious, you're like, yeah, like I want to do this, I'm gonna say no to it, then I say that's fine. Some people are like that. They just want to get it out of their diet. They want to lose the fat. But it's not going to have that huge of an impact if you're preparing in the week or days leading up or the day after, you know what to do to get back on track.
So, what's your opinion on protein shakes? Because, like, as a thin man trying to put muscle on and get bigger, I've always been going to protein shakes and protein powders to, try to add on. So, but I know there's a lot of sugar in that too. So, what's your opinion on protein shakes?
I think protein shakes are great. Um, Great post workout, not something that you'd want to have, you know, 2 or 3 times a day, like a lean protein shake or something like that. The best protein to get is one like pea protein or whey protein isolate. If you don't have that bad of a reaction to it, or you don't get gassy or anything like that. Um, the thing about eating protein by itself is this is protein is another thing that spikes insulin. Like if you have a piece of beef jerky or something really lean, okay, like a lean chicken breast or a protein shake, it actually spikes your insulin, or it spikes, yeah, sorry, it spikes your, uh, yeah, sorry, it spikes your insulin, but it doesn't have the same effect as spiking your insulin with a carbohydrate because you just have this protein, you don't have the carbohydrates involved. And if you have, the protein after your workout or something like that, it can get shuttled into the muscle cells a lot more effectively without the presence of carbohydrates, which are that thing that is blocking many people from losing fat. But for somebody like yourself, you're not too far overweight, right, or anything like that. So I think having a protein shake after your workout or something like that is extremely beneficial for you.
Okay.
And, I do it myself as well, because you want to get that lean protein that starts protein synthesis that doesn't have the presence of carbohydrates as well. Like you don't want to have like a cup of rice with that. You don't really need it.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, with the holiday, we're here in the States, we got the holidays coming up. We got major holidays where a lot of people will drop their workout routines. Um, what would you recommend people staying away from, or trying to take it a little eating? What should they eat that's going to be a little better for them
Well,
during?
I'd say stay away from the candy canes on the tree. Number one, number one,
Hmm.
if you can. No, but on a serious note, stick to the protein on the table.
Hmm.
I'm just trying to think of the foods that come around at Christmas time.
Well,
There's
go
roasts and
ahead,
stuff like
Frank.
that.
Frank's gonna have his
Yeah.
ham, his turkey, some yams, probably some greens, probably some macaroni and cheese, probably, probably, what else you gonna have? Some
But
cornbread dressing.
I only that's the thing. I only eat one plate. I only eat one plate. It's just like
But it's
because
loaded
I
up,
will
ain't it?
get full. I noticed that I get full, but I still don't lose the weight. And I
Mm.
don't know if it's just because of the times I'm eating. Like I'll eat. I probably like my. It's in the evening, late in the evening. With the time we're recording this right now, my daughter's about to come home from softball practice, and I have to cook dinner still.
Mm.
So, and I probably will eat about an hour or two before bed. And I ain't going to work out this late. So that's my
Yeah.
challenge that I face.
Well, the first thing I'd say about Christmas, I would say if you're going to have carbohydrates, try and keep them to a handful. That'd be a great kind of rule of thumb, because obviously, if you have two or three slices of pie after dinner and all this stuff, then um, it's going to
Now,
be
we
kind of
talking
hard to
about a
lose.
Shaquille O'Neal hand, or we talking about a 3-year-old hand? I mean, a handful.
Yeah,
You talking
that's
about
true.
that handful?
We'll go with like a cup. We'll go with a cup.
Okay,
Yeah, let's
okay.
stick to the cup. That's more general across the board.
Yeah.
That'd be a good thing. But I mean, the holidays, it's what, 2 days? Um, to be honest with you, uh, some of my clients obviously will come and tell me that they cheated on Christmas or whatever,
Mhm.
and that's totally fine because they understand how to get themselves back on track. And so I would say go out and enjoy it. Um, and if if you're eating kind of more predominantly fats and proteins, for instance, say you're somebody who's following this type of program and trying to get their insulin levels down, you're going to be fine with doing something like this, going out and having a little cheat. It's not going to affect you that much. Um, to your point, it's actually a really good point. You're not going to be working out. It's late at night. Your daughter's coming home. What do, right? Well, what I always recommend, or what I do recommend for people who want to optimize their testosterone and increase it to lose fat, um, it's actually to not eat within 2 or 3 hours before bed. Simply because when you eat, say, right before bed, you're going to have this spike in your blood sugars as you're sleeping. So it might throw off your circadian rhythm, meaning, you might wake up in the middle of the night, have to go to the bathroom. So you won't get like the best of sleep. If you keep doing something like this over time, over time, over time, then not sleeping leads to increased stress, right? Because if you're not getting that good quality sleep, you're not having that elevation in growth hormone,
Hmm.
which helps you lose fat. That's why when you wake up in the morning and weigh yourself, you're lighter because it's
Mhm.
growth hormone increasing. So it kind of throws off some of the hormones in that regard. But what I would advise for you is to not have a lot of carbohydrates. And I mean starchier ones like potatoes or rice. Um, I would stay away from like the white breads and things like that. I would go for, if more of a fattier protein like I say like a little bit of pork or some ground beef or something like that. Any type of protein is okay, really, as long as it has the fat with it. But I would try and keep the carbohydrates down just so that you don't have a huge elevation in blood sugar levels as you're sleeping, I would actually have maybe a bigger meal a few hours before this one. So I try and keep this one a little bit lighter, see if you get a better night's sleep.
Okay.
But it's not going to happen every day where you can, like you said, not eat within an hour before bed. But I would try and keep it as light as you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nick, I know you said so your focus is men over 30, trying to lose and maximize their natural testosterone. So for your clients that come to you, what are the main things you focus on and get them started on the program?
The first thing I start them off with is a grocery list, actually, because I get the men to understand the type of foods that they want to have or they need to have in the house in order to optimize their testosterone. The things that make testosterone, the types of meat, the good quality vegetables, things like that, so that they can go out and get it and it's readily available in their house. That's the first thing. And the first thing I do is show them how to eat. I don't even, I don't get people working out 5 or 6 days right away. I get their body primed to being able to use fat for fuel over carbohydrates, use its own, body fat for fuel, and at the same time fixing the problem of insulin resistance by lowering the carbohydrates. And like I said, fat loss happens, a week or 2 weeks into this, so you're not, if you're struggling with a weight loss plateau right now, or, you step on the scale, you're just stuck at a certain weight, or you have that beer gut or whatever it is, it's going to start to come off just by changing the nutrition. And when you change the nutrition, my clients experience better quality sleep. They're able to get more out of their days, even more out of their workouts. And this is a cascade effect to getting towards their goal. So whatever they've been having trouble with, whether it's being stuck at a certain weight, even certain health issues, correcting those first and adapting them into the exercise program as well.
You do this primarily, you said virtually, that you meet with them and get that whole thing lined up as far as the diet, getting them eating right, and then you progress from there into an actual workout program or plan?
That's correct, yeah. So I have an online platform and program basically that I would build out for a client, and it would have all the foods that they need to get, video instruction of me performing the exercises that I assign to them and the workouts that I do assign to them. But it's all the layout is online. We also have virtual calls once a week, accountability calls, just to go over some mindset things or go over what happened during the week, anything that we need to address, if it's, having a cheat meal, or, if somebody had a few drinks, for a few nights, how do we bounce back and get right back onto the program, right back on track to losing fat. So it's all online. I share everything with my clients, and we have calls just like this to go over their wins, their struggles, different things like that.
Okay. Now I did look at your Instagram page, and you appear to be very, very fit. So tell me a day in the life for Nick as far as you eating and you working out. What does it look like?
I'll give you an example of today, actually. So I get up usually. I do get up, usually around 6 a.m. in the morning. And shortly after, I may or may not cold shower. This is something that I've started to do for the past,
what are the benefits of that? Because I hear a lot of people talking about that recently.
The benefits of a cold shower, basically, it boosts your immunity. So something I noticed right off the bat from doing this is I'm more resistant to getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if I feel something coming on, I'll get right over it. If you get out of the cold shower, you notice right away that you're kind of buzzing, like you're kind of high, because they use, cold showers to treat depression, or it's one of the things that they're trying to use to treat depression, because it releases dopamine and the feel good hormones actually in your brain. So you get this feeling of mental clarity. There aren't too many studies on it increasing your natural testosterone. That's not really why I do it. I do it for the inflammatory thing too, because if you get in a cold tub or something like that, like after a really hard football game or something like that,
Right.
it feels good on your muscles, right? It brings the inflammation down.
Okay.
So that's what I do it for, but I really do it for the mental benefits of it. I feel like when I take the cold shower, I am right away in it and ready to take on the day. But right after that, well, I'll have some coffee. About an hour and a half later, I'll hit the gym. I'll usually be in there for an hour 15. Anything more than that, I feel that I'm mentally checked out and it's time to go. And if that happens, I just get out. But then I head to work. I'll do some work, whether it's getting on client calls or doing a program for somebody or reaching out to people and prospects and things like that. I'll do that for a while. I will have my, I haven't eaten yet. So
okay.
I'll have my first meal of the day, either right after the workout or I'll be fasting. So I do a 20-hour fast 3 times a week. So if I do something like that, I won't eat for about 3 or 4 hours after my workout.
Okay.
And then when I break my fast, it'll be with a lean protein and a carbohydrate like rice cakes or potatoes or something like that, or berries. And then I'll move into my second meal of the day at about, I don't know, probably about 2 hours later. I do like to try and move during the day. So maybe I'll go out and do like a 20-minute walk, get out in the sun a little bit. And then we move into the last meal of the day, which is supper. And I'll shut down my eating usually at around 6 or 6:30 because I'm back to bed at about 10:30. In the nighttime, I'll sip on some herbal tea, sometimes whether it's turmeric tea or chamomile tea, something like that, just while I'm calming down. And I did forget to mention in there too that I will sauna sometimes after my workout because the gym has a sauna there. And then at night, either I'll be out with some friends or doing something, or I actually bought myself a DJ set. So I've been DJing a little bit in my basement for about 30 minutes or an hour, something like that.
Okay.
And that's it. And then we plan the next day and get right into it.
So that was about maybe 3 meals tops that you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a description of my fasting day, I would say.
Okay.
But if I wasn't fasting, I'd probably eat after about 14 hours. Break my fast with some lean protein. I really love doing that just for the effect that it has on protein synthesis. It's ready to build some muscle, and it also keeps me satisfied. Then I'll move into a second meal, which is more fats and protein, like eggs, good quality beef, sausages, something like that, maybe an omelet. Then I'll eat about, because that one will hold me over for about 3 or 4 hours. Then maybe I'll have some more protein, maybe a protein shake with some berries or something like that in the middle of the day. Then supper, and then I'll kind of cap it after that.
Okay.
And the reason why I do that is because I treat that fasting day like as its own stressor. It's kind of that fat loss day because I'm not eating as much on that day as my other days. So I kind of have this little drop in calories on this day, increase on this day, drop it again, increase. And for somebody like myself, my goal is to build muscle right now while minimizing the fat.
Mm-hmm.
So I find this is a super effective way to do that because it keeps you insulin sensitive. When you do a fast, that's one way to correct insulin resistance because you're using those sugars and stored carbohydrates that are floating in the bloodstream, right, during your fast. And then you tap into your own fat, into fat burning. So I find that's a really effective way to lose fat and build muscle, assuming your calories are up. over the course of the week. There's a lot of info there.
No, that's what I asked.
Yeah.
That's what it was like in a day in the life. So, no, I wasn't taking notes, but
Mm-hmm.
I would have to
Yeah.
take
Good
that.
thing it's being recorded. It's
Yeah,
being
it is.
recorded, so we're
Yeah,
good.
actually, you're right. I have it all recorded. So, but so Nick, how can people reach you if they want to get in touch with you and find your program?
So you can find me on Instagram. It'd be at Nick Soulias is one way. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Nick Soulias. Um, my email, and actually, before I forget, the most important thing about this podcast is I have a testosterone assessment that I want the guys to take. Whoever's listening to this podcast wants to lose fat, whether it's increase your sex drive or mental clarity, something like that. Take the assessment down below because I'm going to provide you with 3 of my free guides to optimizing your testosterone at the end of
Nice.
the assessment. Okay. So once they fill out the assessment, they're going to be shot over my free guides. And email is a great way to be in touch there as well. Right after those free guides come through.
Okay.
So very exciting
We'll
stuff.
have that link. We'll have that link in the show notes
Yeah,
for the
absolutely.
podcast.
Yeah.
And that way, you know, whoever.
Why don't you give it to me right now? I'll hop on and become one of your subscribers right now. What's the link?
I don't think you did.
I sent it over.
Did you send it to me?
Yeah. Did you get it?
I got to go through these emails we've been communicating
Yeah.
for a while.
I could. Hold on. I'll send the link again.
And yeah, if you can just save me time from searching through,
Mm-hmm.
cause we've been chatting since September.
For a little while.
Yeah,
All right, we'll get it. We'll get it.
yeah, but no,
I'll send it to you.
we can. Oh, you know what? Here it is. I got it. I found the
Okay.
email. Yeah. So now I have it.
Perfect.
The subscribe page.io. Yeah.
Send it
Yeah.
over to me, Wood.
Okay, I'll shoot it to you.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll get that. We'll get that put in the show notes for the for all the listeners.
Yeah.
They can take the
Yeah.
assessment and then go from there. 3 guides, which is great, um, and then go from there. You have anything else, Frank, that you want to talk to Nick about?
No, Nick, man, we surely appreciate you coming on today, man, and helping us out because uh, for one hand, I do need to take my health more seriously. Like I said, I've just had a birthday, and I don't want to go into the new year looking like I am now. And I know I need to increase my efforts and becoming healthier. So I thank you for coming on today.
Not a
Being
problem.
the
Yeah.
last one.
If there's
Yeah.
any questions that you have or anything that you want to know more about when it comes to achieving your goal, whether it be to lose a certain amount of weight or, like you said, like not going into the new year looking the same way, just let me know. I'll get you my free guides, and we can keep in touch for
Bet
sure.
that.
Sounds
Down with
good.
that.
And we're gonna close out, but hang on before you drop off, and we can have a little post talk after this go. But as Frank said, we thank you for coming on. As I mentioned at the top, this is our last one for the season. We will be officially signing off. The Kings Can Move On are taking a break. Kings take a break and enjoy the holiday season and come back strong and refreshed for season 2 in January. So be on the lookout for that. And with that, for season 1, thank you, Nick Soulias, for coming on.
Yes.
Frank the Tank.
Wood up to no good.
And it's your boy, like he said, Wood up to no good. Sign out, y'all. Kings Move On.